morning. Funny thing happened this morning when Nico and I were on our walk. A neighbour met us on the way as we were heading out and said, just down the path there's someone, looks like they're lying, sleeping down just off the track, down near the creek. They look all right, they look like they're just asleep. I didn't want to disturb them, they're all covered up, but I didn't know what to do anyway. You might have a look on your way past and see if everything's all right. So as we wandered that direction, we looked, and the person was completely covered over and rolling around, obviously like rolling over in their sleep. I didn't want to disturb them at that point, but we thought, okay, we'll continue our walk and come back this way and make sure everything's all right. As I went, I wrestled with these kinds of feelings of, what do I do? This anxiety of feeling the need to do something, to fix something, but feeling out of control or not sure or overwhelmed or anxious, or do I do something? What do I do? What's needed? The sense of needing to be in control to fix this situation, that this person, whoever they are, whatever's going on, needs fixing. Of course, we all need some kind of fixing in our lives. But what I realised was it's not my job to fix people. I can't often fix myself. It reminded me of a situation some years ago, one of many similar situations, but on this particular one, we were working with a group of young people to put on a significant event. They were organising it. It was going round in circles, and we were getting distracted, and time was running out. And I got a phone call from a colleague who said a family he knew had their child in the hospital, local hospital, seriously ill. And they'd reached out to him, but he lives quite some distance away and couldn't get there. Would I go over and talk with them? They would like to meet with a minister. And as he's telling me the story, I'm thinking, oh, no, I can't do this. I'm busy with this organisation, this event we're trying to organise. Why ask me? They need someone who's professionally trained, who knows what they're doing, who can go in and fix a situation and do the right thing. All these thoughts are going through my mind that I can't and shouldn't do it. All the reasons why I shouldn't go. And then of course when he says, will you go, and they need you now, I said, of course I'll go. And we got the details of where they'd be, and he'd let them know I'm coming. And I said, look, I've just got a couple of things I've got to finish, 20 minutes and I'll be there. So he hung up, and I went back to the young people, and we divided the task. I said, look, you've got to get on with it and do this. I'll be back sometime later and we can sort out where we are. I then for a couple of minutes ran around trying to find tools to take, something to take, a book of prayers, good prayers, or wise sayings, the things that I should say to these people, or something. There was nothing around. It was just me. And I got in the car and went, and on the way I prayed. I can't remember what I prayed, probably that God would do something through me, help me to help them to be what they needed to, I don't know. I felt helpless, out of control. I felt I was walking into something I didn't know what to do or how to go about it. And I didn't. When I got there, I met the family, we introduced ourselves and sat down. And as I'm starting to think of, what do I say, what do I do, they just poured out their story. And it went on for some time, how the young child, their son, was taken ill and wasn't good and wasn't getting better. Then all of a sudden deteriorated, and they ended up in the hospital, and everything happened so quickly. And they went from this healthy, young, joyful child to one who was seriously ill, life and death situation, lying in the bed, having tests and doctors run around. And they shared through tears and pain, their grief, their fears, their worries, the stories of him. And going through my mind is this unimaginable experience they're having, and what it would be like for me with children to be in their position and not quite being able to comprehend what that would be like. And as I'm reaching for wise words or the things to say or the things that might fix this situation, nothing came. And I just sat in this helplessness, listening. And what I discovered in that space was that's what they needed. They didn't need someone to come in and fix their situation. They had doctors and nurses and medicos running around looking after their child, doing what could be done. They needed someone to sit with them in the midst of their pain. They needed someone to sit there and hold them in their grief, in their anguish, in their fear. They needed someone to listen, someone who didn't have the answers, but shared their vulnerability. And in that presence, in that space, God was present, Spirit. In some strange, mysterious, profound way, God was present. And I was able to offer a prayer. It was very simple, heartfelt. I didn't have any wise words or profound words. It was just out of vulnerability and out of their pain. And I experienced that sense of being out of control, of not knowing what to do, but of not needing to know what to do. Of trusting that there was nothing to do, just be. And allow the Spirit, this Spirit of God, this presence, this sacred presence, to be enough. And to hold them in their vulnerability and share it. The days and weeks progressed and their son came through that. And I was reminded of that story with this young person, as it was, young bloke, down by the creek. As I was coming back on the other track thinking about looking out for this person and seeing and thinking of what response would be appropriate, maybe sitting and listening to their story, or I didn't need to fix anything but sit with them and maybe take them somewhere, or maybe there's a hand up I could offer. But as I was walking back on the other side of the creek, I looked over and I saw them get out of the sleeping bag or whatever it was they were in and stretch and pick it up, and it was a young bloke, and pack it in his bag and put it on his shoulder, and off he went. And as he walked up one way and I walked down, I passed him and he was talking on a phone and all seemed well. But it was the experience of thinking through, what do I do? Imagining that there's some catastrophe that I've got to fix and it's not right. It's actually learning to let go and to sit with people in their vulnerability, to become vulnerable with them and walk with people and share backwards and forwards my vulnerability and theirs, my helplessness and theirs. And in the midst of this, to trust that God is present. And that's what Matthew's story of Jesus this week shares. The disciples have been called to follow Jesus, and now they're sent out. Jesus sends them out into the villages and towns to share grace, to share good news, to share their experience of what they've seen and heard in God's grace in this one Jesus, to heal the sick if it comes to that, or to cast out demons, or whatever it is. But it's not in their own strength. It's not them going out to do it as if they've got all the answers, that they're in control. In fact, he says, take nothing with you. Just go. Go and be vulnerable before the world. Go and be vulnerable and don't try and do anything, but be. Be vulnerable and human and loving before people. Be gracious before people. And allow this Spirit, this God, to be present in your midst. To work through your vulnerability. To work through your acts of love and kindness. To work through sitting and listening and caring and loving and embracing and welcoming. But be warned, not everyone will accept you. You'll be rejected. You'll be cast aside. But don't let that deter you from your acts of love. Don't take anything with you. Don't accumulate all this stuff as if you need tools and learning and knowledge and education and all the rest of it. Go with a loving heart. Go with a spirit that is alive. Go with this faith in the one who is beyond all things, who holds all things in grace. Go and know that God is with you. That's the message I got. I got as much from that family of being with them as I hope they got from me. It was a learning and growing experience, and both experiencing this grace, this presence of God in our midst. In the midst of the suffering and the pain and the hurt, there was a sense of love and hope and spirit. That's there for all of us when we learn to let go and to trust. Amen.